Hello and welcome to the first cast in the Forge Alliance Forever cast series. Here's hoping it'll be the start of something big. Today we've got a 1v1 on the map Conflict. This is a relatively new 1v1 map made by Morax, and it's quite a massive place to duel as well. You've got 15 islands, dozens of mass extractors, and lots of water to fight over. 20 times 20 maps. They aren't really popular for 1v1s, but here's hoping this will change because you can tell the author spent quite a lot of time detailing this place. You've got craters, you've got algae, you've got beaches and nice ridges and cliff edges. My only problem with the map is that the sand is kind of bright in some places, but oh well. To introduce our players, we've got two from the Great Britain clan, meaning this is probably a friendly match set up by the two of them. In the bottom corner, you've got Freedom. He's picking Orange Cybrin, and he's immediately going to rush a transport that'll most likely be heading towards the center to claim these 3 mass extractors and about 3,500 mass from the Ivory Ann and the Hydro. In the top, we've got F. Odin, who is rushing a naval factory, and he's also getting air. This land and naval factory was actually queued before the mass extractor, which is pretty weird, but anyways. In terms of general strategy, I'd say the best bet would be to claim the center island, because think about it, you've got lots of mass extractors here, 18 in total, and destroyers, they can't really target the ridge. They can't really target the mass extractors because of the ridge. While cruisers, they can definitely fire above the surrounding cliff edges and hit the mass extractors. You don't want to build too many cruisers because you will fall behind in destroyer production. That said, F. Odin, he is doing a decent job of keeping up, but that might change when Orange grabs this reclaim. F. Odin is scaling up his naval production, as is Orange. He's getting naval factories fairly close to his base. You can see that this part of the map, it is very accessible to engineers, even though it really slopes down because engineers, of course, float on water. So yeah, we're also seeing lots of scouting. That's good. The first few frigates for F. Odin, they're going to start coming down the map. They won't be able to harass these mass extractors, and that's another advantage for F. Odin. A lot of his mass extractors, they won't be easily harassed. You'll have to get submarines, and submarines get, like, old very quickly. What I mean is destroyers can take out a lot of submarines, but frigates, they stay valuable pretty much the whole game as a meat shield. In fact, I remember a lot of times I would build nothing but frigates, and my opponents would have battleships, but I'd win just because I had so much mass invested in frigates, and they're really efficient and powerful. We're seeing a fair amount of conflict here. I guess the namesake of the map makes sense. Odin is concentrating his force. Meanwhile, Freedom is sending it all across the globe, but Odin has managed to sneak a couple of forces through. That's another trademark of these larger maps. It's just so hard to contain your opponent. Oftentimes, rather than being put on the defensive, your best bet is to just push in another side. Like you can see F. Odin, he's taking advantage of this island and pressing into deep enemy territory, and Freedom would have to push all of his ships around to shoot there, and that would make him weak to attack from behind. Especially since one of the interesting about ships in Supcom is that, like, they have a hard time shooting behind them. You can see how front-loaded the guns are in this game. So it's minute 12, let's check on the economy. For Freedom, we have 83 mass, for Odin we have 89 mass, and that just goes to show you that Odin, he's actually gone for a fairly decent early economy. Freedom, he will of course use the reclaim to boost it in the later stage, but these mass extractors, they are a lot closer, and you can protect your mass extractors and your naval factories at the same time, which is pretty good. But in the end, of course, Freedom will win thanks to these, he will win in the economy game thanks to these extra mass extractors. You also see a transport for Freedom. It looks like he's going to take these islands, or try to. I always find Engineer Wars funny because they've got no auto weapon, so you have to see which player reacts better. Oh, I think Odin's gonna take the cake here. He's reclaiming early. Oh, but no, Freedom's actually got it. That might be it might be an alt right click command instead of a manual reclaim command, because engineers, they will reclaim enemy structures if you alt right click and give them an attack move. Odin's pressing his forces in both the left and the right parts of the field. An interesting thing about this place is, even though there's lots of gaps, positioning a force in this area specifically means you can defend against attacks from both here and here. And if your opponent tries to go through here, it's a bit too narrow. There's too much of a choke point, and your forces can have a defeat in detail situation. Heaven made a good tutorial on that. But he is going to run into problems here because Freedom's actually making submarines. In addition, he's got some Salem class destroyers in the region. Those are going to be able to take care of frigates, and of course he too can take advantage of the choke point here, so lots of options on this map. Are we seeing destroyers out here? Well, yeah, we've got decently heavy assistance on F. Odin's T2 naval factory. Of course, you do have a lot of economy, even though he doesn't have quite as much as Freedom's. So he's going to be able to push out a lot of ships and attack huge parts of the surrounding area. F. Odin, he's actually really just pressing his ships forward instead of engaging. That's a pretty cool idea, especially since there's no real way for two ships of equal speed to meet if they just keep going in the same direction at the same speed. So you can often just brute force sneak past your opponent, if that's how you want to put it. We're seeing massive air force. I think Freedom is going to take the lead in air, but T1 air, it's not really dangerous against Navy, especially Cybran ships, because Cybran ships have really good AA. Back down here, F. Odin is moving his ships around Freedom's base. Freedom does have one destroyer, which would be able to take out all these ships, but if he goes for the engineers here, he should be able to slow down his production enough. I do think he will be able to take it out in time. Please forgive the background noise. In the meantime, we're starting to see a massive buildup of Corsairs. You'll see it really start going soon. Odin's doing that trick where he surrounds his air factory with T1 power generators to, give an adjacency bonus. You can see a Corsair is only taking 94 energy. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong player. 94 energy, where it would originally take 140, so that's just a little bit of extra money for your buck there. I prefer to surround my air factories with T2 P-Gens because that's of course better and allows you to go for extra fast T3 air, but it looks like Freedom has actually raided Odin's base with a group of T1 bombers. I believe T1 bombers now need to kill 3 or 4 engineers to get their value back, but Freedom definitely made it count, both slowing down the production and taking out a lot of build power. That should be able to help him gain back an advantage in destroyers. You could tell for a while Odin was pushing out more T2 ships than him. So yeah, the disadvantage for Odin is that he has less economy, but the disadvantage for Freedom is that he has a less concentrated force. He's also sending out units here, which Odin can more easily protect. And the disadvantage for both players, I guess, is that they have to stare at the bright sand, so it evens out. Odin's got another T2 naval factory up here it's also being assisted by engineers, and I have to imagine that's a big dent in his mass income, but he's also power stalling, which is pretty bad. Naval conflict here, but Odin's not really using the full force of his ships, but they are going to come back now. Frigates, they actually have decent range. Like, frigates can actually outrange point defense. It might seem like they don't have a lot of range, but that's just comparing them to other ships, like destroyers. Destroyers are extremely long range. Freedom's gonna send out more reinforcements, and he's also producing lots of T3 air. The thing about T3 air factories is even if you don't exactly scout, you can kind of tell when your opponent's going for T3 air, you know? Like, especially when they've just got massive engineers going around it. He's gonna produce whalers. I typically go for strats, but whalers, they're gonna have a lot of concentrated DPS, which makes them good against frigate AA. If you remember, I was telling how T1 anti-air has trouble against frigates because they have decent anti-air guns on them. And in large numbers, frigates can defend themselves pretty well against torpedo bombers, but whalers are a whole different story because they're just so concentrated, and especially when you get an air staging facility and can repair them, they can just shrug off any number of ships. But look out! We've got a group of Corsairs moving in. I'm actually going to lower this to normal speed. He's, shouldn't be dilly-dallying there. You should be going for the commander. I don't believe he knows where Freedom's commander is, but he is sending out scouts here, and I don't know for sure, but I think they'll reach the base just ahead of those Corsairs. Freedom is, I think he's unaware. No, he can definitely see this, and a player of that rank's not going to be idle. He's, I'm going to highlight his air force, and yeah, he's already issued a move command on intercept. Going to Odin's ships, his air. He's bringing them around, slight meandering to slow down their time, just so that the airships the air scouts get there in time. Oh, he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna do it. Freedom's building another T-shield, another T2 shield. He might get it on just in time. Oh, he can still survive this. He might build the T2 shield. Oh, but there's another Corsair. Oh my god, that was crazy. You can see his ACU going up in a big bright explosion, although not as bright as the sand. Yeah, that concludes it. Sometimes you don't need perfect map control to win a game. Sometimes you just need to snipe. That should be like a motto for all Cybran players. Anyways, thanks for tuning in to see this game. I hope to see you in the next one.